Hey everyone, and welcome to Fulfillment Factory. Today, we're diving into a topic that has fascinated humans for centuries: leadership. But not just any leadership, we're going to be looking at the lessons we can learn from some of history's greatest leaders. We'll explore the traits that made them exceptional, how they navigated complex challenges, and the lasting impact they had on the world. So, buckle up, because we're about to embark on a journey through time and inspiration. Let's start with a leader whose vision was so powerful it moved millions. Martin Luther King Jr. wasn't just fighting against segregation. He was fighting for a future he could see vividly, a future where equality reigned. This wasn't some vague hope. King articulated his vision with such clarity and conviction that it resonated deeply within the hearts of Americans and people all over the world. He spoke of a dream, and that dream became a rallying cry for a movement. The civil rights movement wasn't just about changing laws. It was about changing hearts and minds, and that required a leader who could make people believe in the possibility of a better tomorrow. King's legacy reminds us that true leadership begins with a clear, compelling vision that ignites the imagination and fuels the fight for a more just and equitable world. Now imagine a nation staring down the barrel of tyranny. That's what England faced during World War II, and it was Winston Churchill's words that gave them the strength to resist. Churchill understood that in times of crisis, a leader's most powerful weapon is their voice. His speeches weren't just eloquent. They were infused with a raw, unyielding spirit that resonated with the British people. "We shall fight on the beaches," he declared, and those words weren't just a promise, they were a battle cry. Churchill's leadership reminds us that effective communication isn't just about conveying information. It's about inspiring action, fostering unity, and reminding people what they're fighting for, even in the darkest of times. Leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about knowing how to navigate the unknown. Abraham Lincoln, leading during the tumultuous years of the Civil War, knew this all too well. He faced unprecedented challenges, a nation divided, and a war that threatened to tear America apart. Lincoln's genius lay in his ability to adapt, to shift strategies, and to make difficult decisions in the face of ever-changing circumstances. The Emancipation Proclamation, a pivotal moment in American history, wasn't Lincoln's initial plan, but it was a bold adaptation that ultimately helped turn the tide of the war and redefine the meaning of freedom in America. Lincoln's legacy reminds us that great leaders are flexible, willing to adjust their course, and always learning and evolving in response to the challenges they face. Now let's travel to India, where Mahatma Gandhi led a revolution without ever raising a weapon. Gandhi's leadership was rooted in empathy, in understanding and sharing the feelings of those he sought to lead. He recognized the power of non-violent resistance, not as a passive strategy, but as a force capable of dismantling empires. Gandhi's empathy wasn't a weakness, it was the source of his strength. It allowed him to connect with people on a profound level, to inspire their courage and commitment, and to lead them on a path of peaceful resistance that ultimately led to India's independence. Gandhi's legacy reminds us that true leadership is about understanding and connecting with the needs, aspirations, and even the anger of those we seek to lead. From empathy, we turn to strategy, and few names are as synonymous with military genius as Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon's battlefield strategies were revolutionary, emphasizing speed, maneuverability, and a keen understanding of his opponent's weaknesses. He wasn't just a brilliant tactician, he was a master of logistics, recognizing that battles were won not just on the battlefield, but also in the planning and preparation that preceded them. However, Napoleon's story is also a cautionary tale. His ambition, while initially fueling his rise to power, ultimately led to his downfall. Napoleon's legacy reminds us that while strategic thinking is essential for leadership, it must be tempered with wisdom, restraint, and a clear understanding of the potential consequences of our actions. Speaking of resilience, few figures embody the triumph of the human spirit over adversity quite like Nelson Mandela. For 27 years, Mandela endured the brutal realities of imprisonment for his activism against apartheid in South Africa. But even within the confines of prison walls, Mandela's spirit remained unbroken. He emerged from prison not consumed by bitterness, but with a message of forgiveness and reconciliation. As South Africa's first black president, Mandela led the nation through a peaceful transition, dismantling the apartheid regime and laying the foundation for a more just and equitable society. His leadership reminds us that true strength lies not in the absence of hardship, but in our ability to rise above it, to transform our pain into purpose, and to emerge from even the darkest of times with our spirits intact and our resolve strengthened. Now, let's talk about a leader who embraced failure as a stepping stone to success, Theodore Roosevelt. Roosevelt wasn't afraid to take risks, to charge headfirst into the arena of life, even if it meant facing setbacks and disappointments. He famously said, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena." Roosevelt's leadership reminds us that true courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act in spite of it. It's about embracing challenges, learning from our mistakes, and never letting the fear of failure paralyze us from pursuing our goals. Chapter 8. From the arena of American politics, we travel back in time to Elizabethan England, where Queen Elizabeth I reigned for over 4 decades. Ascending to the throne during a time of great uncertainty and religious turmoil, Elizabeth I proved to be a shrewd and capable ruler. She navigated complex political landscapes, deftly balanced competing factions within her court, and oversaw a period of remarkable cultural flourishing known as the English Renaissance. Elizabeth I understood that leadership was not just about wielding power, but about inspiring loyalty, fostering unity, and creating an environment where art, literature, and exploration could thrive. Her reign stands as a testament to the power of a leader who understands that their legacy is not measured solely in years on the throne, but in the lasting impact they have on their nation and the world. Chapter 9. Now let's talk about a leader whose courage was forged in the shadows, whose every step was an act of defiance against an unjust system, Harriet Tubman. Born into slavery, Tubman risked her life repeatedly to guide others to freedom along the Underground Railroad. She wasn't content to simply escape her own bondage. She felt a profound responsibility to help others break free from the chains of oppression. Tubman's leadership was defined by her unwavering determination, her deep empathy for those suffering under the weight of slavery, and her willingness to confront danger head-on in pursuit of a greater good. Her story reminds us that leadership can emerge from the most unexpected places, that courage knows no bounds, and that even in the face of seemingly insurmountable obstacles, one person's unwavering commitment to justice can spark a movement and change the course of history. Chapter 10. Finally, we come to the leader who set the standard for American leadership, George Washington. As the commander-in-chief of the Continental Army during the American Revolutionary War, Washington faced daunting odds and countless challenges. But it was his integrity, his unwavering commitment to the ideals of liberty and self-governance that inspired his troops and ultimately led to the birth of a nation. And perhaps even more importantly, Washington understood that true leadership is not about clinging to power, but about knowing when to relinquish it. His decision to step down after 2 terms as president set a precedent for the peaceful transfer of power that has endured for centuries. Washington's legacy reminds us that true leadership is rooted in integrity, in a deep commitment to the common good, and in the understanding that power is most effectively wielded when it is exercised with restraint and a deep respect for the principles upon which a nation is founded. Wow, we've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we? From the soaring rhetoric of Churchill to the quiet strength of Gandhi, from Lincoln's adaptability to Mandela's resilience. We've seen how different leadership styles can shape history and inspire generations. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts on which leaders' traits you find most inspiring. What will you take away from these stories? How will you use these lessons to lead in your own life, in your communities, and in the world? See you next time.